Now here's the cool thing though. As adults, is it hard? Absolutely. But you know what? We get a ton more out of it than we put into it. And the cool thing is, we're not just facilitating a spiritual experience for our students. We're actually having our own spiritual experience as well. And Amy's going to share about one that was for her, but really it's just representative of all the adults that were on the trip. All of us, without exception, felt God speaking to us and using us in a powerful way. But let's celebrate Amy's story.
Thanks. Okay, settle in for a minute. This is a story about a divine appointment that I'm really glad I didn't miss. For those of you that know me really well, I mean really well, not my persona, but me, you know that I'm really, the way I would say it nicely is that I'm really grounded in reality. What that really means is I'm kind of skeptical. I'm all about authenticity. Flash doesn't really impress me. I'm looking for things to be real. So this is my 4th year. I've never had an experience to stand up and talk about, and in fact, I've sometimes looked at some of the other experiences and gone, yeah, contrived, but okay. And I apologize, that's me, not you. So anyway, all that said, I was somewhat nervous about the trip, just about the logistics, but was excited too, until a little over a month ago, we found out that we would specifically be doing this prayer station business that was talked about. And in biblical terms, I guess I was burdened. In my terms, I was freaked out. So much so that I got home from 8612 that night and talked to my husband, who is a missionary by profession, and was like, you have got to help me. I can't do this, and I've got to be an example for these kids, and I'm not even sure I really get, that it makes any sense, and you got to help me. So he gave me some very basic things to think about, which all sounded great and sensible, but didn't really change the way I felt. And I didn't really realize it until we were trudging to that prayer station that day. I was trudging. And I felt like I was sort of walking like this with thousands of pounds on my shoulders. And so we arrived there, we set up the table that says prayer station, and like they've talked about, you kind of have to figure out what your approach is going to be. And I thought, well, maybe my approach will be standing at the table. We'd had one of our youngest students. Surprising, I know. But we'd had one of our youngest students the night before who had had huge success standing at that table just going, "Good morning!" And people would stop and pray with her. So I thought, well, I'll try that. I can say good morning. So I stood there for a while going, "Good morning. Good morning." And every now and then I got yeah. So I quickly realized that was not going to work. And I'm looking around and I see our youngest students in our group who are already stopped and praying. I'm seeing Jason Thomas, who people are stopping him because he's just that kind of guy. And I'm thinking, I have to be here for 3 hours. Oh my gosh. I gotta do more than this, and I need to be setting an example. So I walked over to Jason and didn't really mean to say this. I was thinking it, but I was like, I hate this. I hate this. And it was kind of a tear or two is trickling out. That's another part of me that you maybe don't know, but I cry about everything. And so he's like, "Are you okay?" Not really. No, I'm okay. But he suggested that maybe a good plan for me would be to look for that person that was standing, already stopped, because as Coleman was talking about, to do the walking thing, it was sort of like the race where you're trying to catch the thing behind you, so you go, okay, hi, and I couldn't do that one. I just never even tried that one. So I decided, okay, I can do that. So I caught this one girl, and she was delightful. She was from England. We talked about her great accent, the fact that she was at Parsons Design School, and that was all interesting. She was great. She let me play with her. She was already a Christian, so that wasn't too bad. Just had a couple of tears, nothing too major there. That was good. Went back and stood in my spot, and then kind of, and I can't really explain what that is, but that's just who I am. So anyway, I'm standing there waiting on my next standing victim, and this lady is standing there with her friend and some bags, so it looks like they're going to be there for a minute, and they just look, trust me, I was almost like in a courtroom profiling these people. and they looked like she was going to be okay. So I walk up, and for some reason I'm just getting like sort of short of breath and kind of really teary, and I'm trying not to freak them out. And I introduce myself, and she's like, oh, hello, I'm Jennifer. This is my friend Colette. Now, Colette, she's atheist, but no big deal because she prays with me all the time, so I'm sure she'll be fine with this, okay? Good. Okay. So I said, well, let's just box Colette out. That's fine. We'll just box her out, and you and I will pray. So she tells me some things that are difficult going on in her life, but nothing earth-shattering, nothing to cause the sobs that ensued for me, not her. To the point that, I'm like, and she's going, honey, are you all right? I'm not all right. But, so anyway, I get through that again, just a beautiful Christian, and I'm getting through it, and I had a few other experiences. Everyone I prayed with was a Christian. I ran into one Jewish lady who was like, I'm Jewish. I think I have my own stuff. Good. So really, all in all, it went awfully well, except for the breakdown that I had, and Jason showed me a ton of grace in that, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure he was thinking, wow, they'll let any sponsor go on this trip. But he didn't say that, and that was good. So we're leaving that site, and I feel like I have lost 20 pounds. It's wonderful. I just am elated. We're walking around Times Square, and I'm like, I could have been tossing flowers. It was a great feeling, and I'm thinking, great, it's done. Okay, I survived. But God wasn't done. So we head over to Union Square. We have a concert that's so well attended, and people are so into it, and that's wonderful, and all that, and that's all wrapping up, and I'm looking for my family group to get together with them to hop back on the metro, and as I'm walking kind of with purpose, this lady grabs my arm and goes, will you pray with me? And I was like, I'm sorry. So we stepped aside, and she just unburdened just very serious things, contemplating suicide, feeling like that death had to be better than some of the things she was living in. And when she told me the things she was living in, I could see where she would think that. She was a Christian and did have a church family, but told me, and this sounded a little too familiar to me, said that she didn't feel like she could be very open with those people. That they kind of were like, I'll pray for you. Yeah, you too. Good. But nobody wanted to be open enough with their real problems, because that was one of the main things we talked about, was that I felt like she needed an earthly person to come alongside her with this. And I was just sort of surprised at some of the words that were coming out of my mouth. They seemed like somewhat well-formed ideas and maybe somewhat sensible. And we prayed, and I cried, but not the horrifying sobbing cries that scare people. And then we talked again, and I turned around and I just had a huge breakdown, because I realized that, that morning that I was just trying to get through was my preparation for what God really had in store for me, was meeting this woman who was struggling with some very, very difficult issues. And my family group had seen the breakdown and then had seen this, and I hope it spoke to them to indicate that, God just has a really interesting, sense of humor maybe is not the right word, but just a way of presenting things for you that you could never come up with. And for me, that was it. And I'm just so grateful that I was there, and that appointment that he had set for me, I didn't miss it. And anyway, I just hope that I don't ever forget that day and what that meant. So that's my experience.